is going on, DGen Nation? Ken and Kim here, bringing you another Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast. This week for the players. You got to shout players because it's all caps. The players, as usual. Not as usual. Sometimes as usual. I am here with Mr. Ryan Baroff. Ryan, how are you? I know Tambo's not here this week, so hold on. Tambo's not here this week because his wife and him are celebrating their 10-year anniversary. And normally I'd be like, well, how are you going to miss the players? But 10-year anniversary, and his wife let him become a pro DFS player after he had a really good job. So he has to go. He has to go. But of course, we have our resident filler, Mr. Baroff. Ryan, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. Happy to be here. Happy anniversary to Tambo. I was talking with him offline last week because I celebrated my 10-year wedding anniversary last Friday. So hopefully we got some good mojo.
Yeah, I don't think I've had a relationship last 10 years of my life except my dog. That would probably be like the only relationship.
Those are the good ones,
like
man.
Friends and shit. Like I have like 2 friends that I've had for more than 10 years. That are still left. No relationship that long. Shit. And the longest relationship I've had with a bitch is my dog for 10 years. Yeah, and I love that dog. It was 13 years old. It was the saddest day of my life when she passed away.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about before we talk about what we need to talk about for this week. Let's go and talk about a little bit of Ship It Nation. This show is brought to you and presented by ShipItNation.com. They've got you covered for all the major sports for DFS content, tools, projections, education, and more. Go to ShipItNation.com and use promo code Mayo to get 10% off any of their monthly memberships. All right, so let's move on and talk a little bit about this past week. Bay Hill, finally, we got a big dog win, but the way he won was just not that exciting. It's scary, Scheffler. When he does what he did this past week, making all 16 of his putts inside 15 feet on Sunday, he actually lost strokes with his approaches on the front 9 on Sunday and gained a 3-stroke lead. So I mean, real scary stuff if you're a pro and you see Scottie doing what he did with that new mallet putter. I would definitely be worried. I know Shane Lowry said he was speechless about the way he was playing. The guy shot 66 when everybody around him was just imploding. I don't know if anybody in the final few groups even broke par. Not the exciting finish that we'd like, but the domination of Scottie Scheffler was something to behold. And it's scary now, especially from a betting standpoint. 5.5 to 1. You got to think about it. You got to think about it now. What'd you think of the event this past week?
Yeah, so I didn't watch too much until back 9 on Sunday, and at that point it was over, so I didn't watch too much of it anyways. I was tracking a lot of it, but look, we've been saying this about Scottie for a while, right? The week that he finds a putter, he's going to win by a touchdown. And I don't think this is going to be the only time it happens this year. It's a perfect golf course for him. You have to hit it far, but you have to hit it straight. Iron play is key. Your short game is key. Everyone sort of has the same shots around the green at Bay Hill, those little chunk and runs out of the thick Bermuda rough, which Scottie is very good at. He grew up in Texas playing on pretty similar grass. So, yeah, I mean, awesome week for him. Honestly, he's pretty easy to root for. It sucked that Rory ejected and sort of others ejected. Especially sucked because we all had his Zalatoris ticket and he was up by 4 on back 9 on Saturday before I don't even know what happened, made a couple of late doubles. So that was annoying, but awesome to see Scottie cross the line for the first time in a year, I think.
A year, 51 weeks since last year's players. Other guys who played well. I mean, Wyndham Clark looks like a guy you got to think about playing in these designated events, these signature events. He just seems to come up and ball out in these type of events. Shane Lowry, another back-to-back, really, really solid weeks for Mr. Lowry. And I think last week was Bay Hill was probably more impressive because he's never made a cut there, right? He's never made a cut there. He's coming off, the runner-up finish the week before, the Cognizant, and, at 5% owned, 6% owned, mostly because of his course history. That was a nice little GPP play. I had a shit ton of them. Didn't really help me. Probably my worst week of the year. It's going to happen. This Florida swing is so volatile. If you can get through the Florida swing, with being up in DFS, you're doing something right, because this stuff gets a little wild sometimes. But other guys who were in there, Benny on another 10, top 10, Homa with a good finish out there. One guy who really sort of impressed me, and I know he finished like dead last, okay? But Jake Knapp, right? Yeah. He comes in on Saturday and shoots, I don't know, 80, 79 or some god-awful number. He shoots that, he gets that, he shoots a 12 or something on the 6 hole or 9, something like some humongous score on 6 on Saturday. But then he comes back Sunday when, the average score was well over par for the day, and he shoots even par. Like, to me, that's like moxie. You know what I'm saying? Having your worst round as a PGA Tour pro and on one of the hardest courses, on tour, and then coming back and shooting even par, beating 80% of the field. Pretty impressive, I thought. I don't know about you, but that impressed the hell out of me for this guy. I have high hopes for Mr. Jake Knapp. Anybody else catch your eye this past week?
I've been a big Knapp fan for a while. Bet him a bunch last year. I still don't think we're talking enough about Wyndham Clark. What he's doing, obviously won a major, won multiple signature events, almost won this one. He's arguably a top 3 player right now, probably for sure a top 5 player. And then Matsuyama, he just seems to continue to trend up. Obviously, there were some pretty good numbers out there over the weekend, and he's now cut down to like 28, which we'll talk about this week. But I think, again, he's
32.
Yeah, I got 45 yesterday. I think he's playing better, and we saw a few years ago when he got hot towards the end of the year, like he can stack wins. He won Hero and Phoenix, and he can stack them. So,
and you got to think, he's been in the lead. I guess technically Tim Anderkus would believe that he's won 8 players already since Hideki was in the lead before the world shut down in 2020 going into this event. He's playing well. There's a lot. The crazy thing is the guys that are playing poorly coming into this event, and how are we going to deal with those guys? Because, the thing about Sawgrass, and we're jumping ahead a little bit, but it's my show and I can talk whatever the fuck I want to talk about. So, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but like when it comes to Sawgrass, like course history is not really that big of a deal. It's like right in the middle, but it seems like there's a lot more variance when it comes to course history, and current form tends to be a bit more important going into this event. And there's a lot of guys up top who do not have the best current form. Now, it's funny. I was looking through my article from last year in my notes, and I guess, every year I add some notes on top of my article. So when I go back and look at it, I could see stuff that I wanted to, mention for next year. And the big thing on my Twitter, on my notes, was this note that I made myself. Hold on, let me find it here. Roster all players who are good but have missed cuts or played poorly recently. And that's what it goes against what most people talk about when they get to the players. We'll get there soon enough. Anything else you want? Oh, let's talk about Wyndham Clark a little bit more. Did he cheat? It was pretty fucking close, bro. Like,
so it's hard when you zoom in like that. But I think all he was
he
doing
didn't give himself a better lie. That's the one thing.
He was just testing the lie.
That's the essence of the rule. Like, you have to give yourself a better lie when you do that. And that ball just sunk more to the bottom. Yes, it moved, but it did not improve.
Yeah, I think he was just testing what club he wanted to get behind it, if he was going to wedge out. Or if
it's not the first time something like this has happened this year. If you remember, I guess a month, 6 weeks ago, he had that incident where it looked like he deliberately stepped behind the ball in high rough to possibly give himself a better lie. Now, that one, people sort of debunked.
So what I'll say is, when you're playing better golf, you're on TV more, right?
Yeah. That's what it seems like. And, the thing is, he got a lot of hate this weekend, not because of that, because of his comment about how he would like, top 100 in the world. He'd like these events. He'd like the PGA Tour to shrink and just be like the top 100, when he hasn't even been top 100 in the world for a year, right? Rory said the same thing, but Rory's earned enough clout where, yeah, it's probably not what people want to hear, but they're not going to give him like crazy amount of shit for saying what he said. Wyndham Clark's a newbie. You know what I'm saying?
Easy to say when you're playing well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And easy to say when you're playing well for the first time in your life and you're 30 years old and you've really only been playing well for a year, right? And that definitely rubbed people the wrong way, and I could see why when it comes down to it. But the guy's going to be good. I think the thing about him is he has that banana cut, but it's pretty safe. Like whenever he's nervous, you know what I'm saying? He aims left, hits that banana cut, and usually it's in the middle of the fairway. Now that doesn't really, that's not the best thing for him at certain majors, because you're going to be nervous a lot. You're going to go to your go-to shot in Augusta. That shot's a pretty tough shot to hit. You're going to be out.
I mean, Vijay Singh hit that. Yeah, I mean, Vijay Singh hit that shot. Tiger hit that shot. Jack Nicklaus hit that shot. It's safe because you're taking the left side out of the golf course. So you kind of know that if you miss, you're going to miss a few yards right. So
yeah, but I mean, the thing about it is, like, if you listen to Scheffler, like how far above he is with everybody else, like the way he talks about off the tee play when there's a lot of water. Like he decides to, he has a little bit of, he could play a cut. And if water's on the left-hand side, right? And he plays a cut, he knows he's going straight over the pond. If he hits the water, he's going to have to bring it back almost back to the tee. So even though even in that situation, he's comfortable enough to hit the draw, where if he hits the draw and he misses, at least he'll be able to drop way farther up ahead. Like that's the thought process that Scottie's going through off the tee, who's become, I mean, the best golfer off the tee in the world with the craziest fucking swing, where he looks like he's doing a fucking crip walk. He's the fucking crip, like he's wearing all blue in LA in the hood and like doing his little crip walk thing. That's what it looks like he's doing when he's swinging that fucking club. It's unbelievable. But like the thought processes that he goes through, like when you hear interviews and afterwards, it's basically like a step above what everyone else is thinking. The guy is so in tune with his stroke and how he goes about beating the golf course with his type of game. It's scary.
It's awesome. He's striking the shit out of it. Yeah, again, I think everyone handles that differently, and like you can call it, pressure or water danger, whatever you do. Like I know that when I play golf, right, my miss, if I get nervous or if I get fast, whatever, is I pull the ball left. So I know naturally that if I'm, in that mindset, I'm just going to aim a little bit more right? Scottie doesn't worry about that because he doesn't miss. He can carve it right. He can carve it left. He can hit it high. But I think the most underrated part of his game actually is probably the accuracy off the tee, because it's not the longest, but he obviously hits it plenty far.
He's pretty long. He
just splits the fucking fairway. I mean, splits it. So really good.
Great. He's unbelievable. Other news this past week. Talk a little bit about Anthony Kim.
Yeah.
Going in there in his final round, shooting at 65. 65. In the final round, didn't finish dead last. You know what I'm saying? Beat 4 or 5 guys. I know a lot of people were making fun of him because of the shooting, 12 over last week. I thought it was super impressive that he broke 80. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what everyone else is thinking.
I thought you were going to say shooting something else.
Yeah. Like you haven't played competitive golf in 12 years. And dude's out there shooting like 76s.
That's right.
That seems pretty fucking good to me, right? No, and then this past week, and the stuff that he's talking about where he doesn't have an equipment deal, his clubs aren't even fitted. My fucking clubs are fitted.
Yep.
For myself. He's a goddamn pro and his clubs aren't even fitted. And he's out there shooting 65. Impressive in my book.
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be all right. I mean, look, he's never going to get back to where he was, but this is a process. Like, I mean, give him the year, maybe give him even more than that to see, because you have to consistently shoot those numbers. And I think Now, I didn't watch anything. I saw some clips and looked at the stats. It seemed like it was very putter driven on that Sunday, but it's fine. Shooting 65 is 65.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty impressive stuff. All right. So before we move on to this week, let's do our Underdog segment.
Yep.
Of course, we are our new sponsor, Underdog. I will say it was a great week for myself this past week on Underdog Fantasy. I made a 3-bagger on Friday night. It was Scheffler over 4.5 birdies, Will Zalatoris over 4.5 birdies, and Rory, who was at the time in 31st, to sneak inside the top 10 by the end of the third round. Now, what Underdog does is they have these things called scorchers, right? Where it's like a little jalapeno, like next to the pick'em, either higher or lower. And if you pick that, what happens is it adds to your multiplier. Mm-hmm. So I think in that pick'em I had there were 2 scorchers. I think it was the Rory, and it was the Zalatoris over 4.5.
Yep.
Higher than 4.5. I'm sorry. And really, it hit at a 13.5 multiplier. So it multiplied my bet by 13 and a half. Wow. Only on a 3-bagger. I won $2,000 on that one bet. It was a $150 pick'em, and I won $2,000. So you guys got to make sure you go out there and test it out. Go to the site, type in promo code Mayo, get a deposit match up to $100. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I was playing some of those. So I really just started playing Underdog Golf recently, but I was doing a lot of NBA stuff. I'm a Cavs fan, so I know the Cavs very well. I know their matchups very well. I know their injury news very well, and I felt like it was pretty exploitable there. Just if you knew guys were going to be limited, if you knew guys were going to miss games, because even getting like a couple points on points, rebound, assists, whatever, couple points of CLV makes a lot of difference kind of when you're doing those. So,
and I'm going to be 100% upfront with you guys. The way Underdog paid me was they put a whole bunch of money in my account, right? Into my Underdog account. I cannot pull that money out until I spend the amount that they gave me. So that means I'm going to have to do well. Like, I have to play well. Like, if I don't play well, I could lose all the money that they gave me, and I don't get shit, right? So, like, I'm taking this shit fucking serious every week.
Yep.
And so I'm going to go ahead and go over my Underdog Pick'em for this week. It's a 2-bagger for the first round, 3.5 times multiplier. I feel so confident in this. I went max bet, $250.
Wow.
First one, it's going to be Scottie Scheffler under 2.5 bogeys. Sahith Theegala over 3 bogeys. Okay, and now here's my thought process. In the last 10 rounds that Scottie Scheffler has played at the Open at the players, and it includes his missed cut 3 years ago. Okay, in his last 10 rounds, he has had more than 2 bogeys once in one round out of the last 10, right? And that one he had 3. Okay, and so even here he missed the cut. He didn't even have 3 bogeys in a round. Like, I think it was like the first round in 2022, right, where he had 3 bogeys. Only time in his career he's had more than 2.5 bogeys. I'm shocked. I'm going lower than 2.5 for Scottie, and I'm going above 3 for Theegala. Theegala has played this 6 rounds at this course. First off, the 2 times he's played, he's finished 74th, and he's missed a cut. Okay? In 5 of his 6 rounds, he's had 4 bogeys or more. In 5 of the 6 rounds he has played at TPC Sawgrass, he has had 4 bogeys or more. All but 1 round. And that 1 round, he had 3. Right? So that's going to be my bet. It pays off, so it's going to be, let me make sure I say this correctly so everyone can join in if they want to. Now I can't find it. Oh, here we go. So Scottie Scheffler, lower than 2.5 bogeys or worse. Sahith Theegala, higher than 3 bogeys or worse. This is from Thursday's first round. I'm max betting it, and it pays out 3.5 times. Ryan, what's your go-to?
That's good. I have not been as successful with the bogey birdie props. I was doing really well with like fairways and greens and par 5 score, but I went all on first round scores. So first round strokes. We've got 3 unders, a little bit off the board on these, but the first one we talked about.
Lowers.
Yeah, sorry, lowers. Yes, not unders, lowers. So first one we talked about Hideki. So lower than 70.5 for Hideki. You just mentioned he was first round leader in the COVID year. That didn't count. He's just playing great right now. So I want to get as much Matsuyama this week as I can. Number 2, another guy who ejected hardcore last week, but plays this course very well. Tommy Fleetwood, lower than 71 first round strokes. And finally, even further off the board, our ejector from 2 weeks ago, Eric Cole, there's a 71.5. So we are going lower than 71.5. I think this is a perfect course fit for Eric Cole. Probably better than Honda, for sure better than Bay Hill. I really like Eric Cole this week as well.
I'm really glad you have that because as of now, he's in my cash lineup.
There you
Not
go.
in the cash game cornerstone and 10, so you can get one. But he's in my cash lineup this week. Yeah, Fleetwood I sort of like as well. Fleetwood is my fade of the week. Last week, of course, he missed the cut. The one thing that's been going really well for me is my fade of the week over on Gup's Corner. I think we've had 10 weeks so far this year. None of my fade of the weeks have finished better than 29th. And it's like $8,500 or more.
Pretty good.
For every single one of these guys. So all 10 weeks. So, I might not be picking the right winners, but I am picking the right losers. Hey, there you go. So before we get into this week, let's hear a word from our sponsor. Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports. It's also the fastest growing fantasy app in the industry. Whether you like head-to-head or pick'em games, personally, I like the pick'em games. Pick whether your favorite players will have a higher or lower stat total in this week's event for a chance to win big. Pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. You can win up to 100 times your money in a single night. You can also make rivals picks, which pits 2 players against each other. This past week, I used it for Rory shooting under 70 in round 1 and Spieth more than 2.5 bogeys in round 1. Sign up today with promo code Mayo and get your first deposit doubled up to $100, as well as an instant pick'em special. Must be 18 years or older and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit www.ncpgambling.org. All right, so the top golfers in the world, they had the Ponte Vedra, Florida for the Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass. With a huge purse, every golfer wants to come here, try and earn a healthy paycheck, and test their skills on a semi-difficult course. Another reason golfers like this course so much is because any type of golfer can win here. There is no type that consistently does well. Everyone has a chance, as you can see with some of the past winners. Tim Clark, KJ Choi, Stephen Ames, Fred Funk. Paul Goydos finished like top 3 here back-to-back years. Like I said, everyone has a chance. That's what makes this tournament so great and why it can be very difficult for DFS purposes. There are so many dangers on this course, and everybody can fall victim to it at some point in time. The tournament moved from May to March a few years ago. I actually went to the first March year. It was 2019 when Rory won. And so there are going to be some differences compared to when they played in May. The biggest differences are probably the greens, the rough, and the wind change. The greens are overseeded with Poetry Realis this time of year, which could lead to them being more receptive. This should lead to better scoring conditions than when they played in May, weather permitting. And you've seen some of that here recently with like 17 under, 15 unders winning this event. The greens aren't your typical Bermuda because of the overseed. Some say the greens are, very smooth and easier to putt on with these type of grass conditions. The prevailing winds at Sawgrass differ from March to May. The biggest issue when it comes to golfers and the wind change is probably 17 and 18. with the prevailing winds like north to northeast now, it's going to make the final 2 holes dramatically more difficult if that's the way the wind is going. If the wind blows hard, golfers are no longer going to be hitting like a wedge into the 17 and will likely be pulling a driver on 18 instead of a hybrid or an iron. Tiger said that when he's played this in the early spring, he'd hit 6 iron into 17. Jason Day hit 2 iron wedge on 18 the year he won in May. But in 2021, he said he might have to play driver 5 iron. These changes make it difficult to use course history prior to 2020. I mean, you can still look at it, still going to give you a decent judge, but I wouldn't make that be all, end all. And also, the stickiness of course history at this event isn't that great. I think it's like 25th, 26th out of 42 courses. So it's in the bottom half. And that's mostly due to the variance of all the trouble that's there. 2 bad shots, you're in the water, it can knock you out of the damn tournament if it comes down to it. The weather, always a huge factor in many iterations of this event. As of Monday morning, it doesn't look like it's going to be crazy, maybe like 20-mile-per-hour winds. But of course, make sure you check back. There have been some crazy wave differences. I remember a couple of years ago, everyone was on one wave and it flipped and went the other wave. So definitely some stuff like that at this event. A couple of trends. This is from Jeff Ulrich at the Fantasy Grind on Twitter. 11 of the last 13 winners have had a top 5 prior to their win in the same calendar year. The last 16 winners have had a top 25 at TPC Sawgrass before their win. The last 7 winners have had a top 25 in the prior tour start before their win. So a lot of form coming in is helpful. Now, let's get to the meat of the course. TPC Sawgrass, Pete Dye design par 72, plays around 7,200 yards, 4 par 3s and 4 par 5s. 3 of the par 5s are reachable by most, and the par 5 9th hole can only be reached into by the longest of hitters. There were a few changes to the course, like I spoke about. The bunkers have been redone. Another water hazard was added, and the 12th hole added a new tee box to make it a drivable par 4. And of course, most importantly, many of the green complexes were redone, and the grass and the green switched from Mini Verde Bermuda to Tiff Eagle Bermuda. But of course, the Polo Trivialis is going to be overseeded. That's going to be more important. With the date change, overseeding, and the fact that the greens are now, 5 years old, they're going to be a little bit more, they're going to be pretty receptive, I would think. They've had about 7 to 8 inches of rain so far this year. So, a decent amount of rain. And with that Polo Trivialis on top, it usually softens the green just a little bit. But we'll see how the course plays, because this course can literally be played in any manner that they want. That's how much control the PGA has over this course and how it plays. Now, off the tee, golfers are going to face narrow tree-lined fairways, bunkers and water in play on almost all shots off the tee. There's a lot of water here, 24 acres of water. Like most Pete Dye designs, many different types of dog legs on many of the holes. This is going to lead to players hitting less than driver on many of the holes played. The rough we've seen has been up from about 2.5 inches to 3.5 inches the last couple of years. So that can make the course play a little bit more difficult. Also, it should be lush because of all the rain that they have. And then, of course, it is going to be easier to control shots out of the overseed than it would be of the pure Bermuda, even from the rough. The fairways have a lot of mounds and undulation. They can be firm if the course is dry. Missing it in the rough on the right side of the course can make the golfer's approach shots even more difficult, because the Pete Dye does these things called stadium mounds. He usually does this so fans can actually have a better view and be above the players so they can look down and watch the players play. But if you miss to the right, you're going to be hitting on these weird lies, sometimes maybe like baseball swing lies, like Hideki's shot that he hit out of the water last week. That was just simply amazing. You could see some of those type of shots, no water, but you're hitting it on these mounds and you're going to have some weird lies. Now, if golfers miss running tee shots, they're going to have these baseball swings. Since a lot of water is on the left side of the greens, it makes these baseball type swings even more hair raising, since the ball is going to be sitting on a draw hook lie. On approach shots, golfers will see very small greens. Bunkers surround most greens, and once again, a lot of water was going to be surrounding them. The greens themselves, multi-tiered, undulated, and tricky, typical Pete Dye design. Since 1992, there have been more 3-putts on this course than any other non-major course on tour. Again, the Tifico Bermuda overseas with Polo Trivialis. They're going to be fast. Snip meter rating of around 12, 12 and a half. The outcome of the tournament will probably come down to the final 3 holes. Pretty nerve-wracking, but it can be played under par if golfers can get over nerves and the intimidation factor. 16, reachable par 5. A lot of trouble around the green. You've seen like 3 to 8s here from leaders in the last few years. And I know RCB made like a double on 16, when he was in the lead here. I think it was like 2019, 2018, something like that. But you've seen like drastic changes on the leaderboards in these last 3 holes. Of course, 17 is the island green. 18, tough par 4. It's a long, tough par 4. Since 2003, the 18th hole played about 2,100 strokes over par. The tournament could definitely be won or lost on these final 3 holes. Baroff, what are you looking for in golfers this week?
Yeah, that was pretty good. A couple of things I will just sort of reinforce that you said. It has definitely gotten harder since they moved it from May to March. There's no doubt about that. I think you always want to look at the weather conditions here. Wind, rain. We saw it a couple of years ago when those guys were out there shooting 80 in a storm and there was a massive wave edge. You probably won't see anything like that again, but anytime you're here in Florida, you have to look for that. I'm very interested in the rough length because it does vary here. I think most things that you'll look at this week are going to say that the rough is long, but that is certainly not always the case. I don't expect it to be as long as it was at Bay Hill last week, where these guys were laying up and shipping out in some places. So definitely be aware of that. One of the things that I do like about this course is if you're in position, every hole is a birdie hole, right? Every hole is a bogey hole, but every hole is a birdie hole as well, because you are going to see more of those approach shots with wedges than you've seen, I guess really the last few weeks, but especially last week at Bay Hill, you were seeing a lot of those approach shots from outside of 200 yards. You're going to see a lot more from that 125 to 150 this week. So if guys can find the fairway, be on the right side of the fairway, and we get some half-decent hole locations, I think you're going to see some low scores early in the week.
Yeah, well, typical Pete Dye, like his mantra is, if you're playing well, you can score really well on his courses. But if you're playing bad, you can shoot some wild-ass high scores. Yep. And that's sort of why that's why I like Pete Dye courses. Because, you sort of have to be like on your game.
Yep.
It's hard to come into these type of courses and try and find something that you're missing. Now, let's get to the top of these tiers because there's one guy that I'm looking at. 25 to 1. You can find him. And you haven't seen anything under 20 to 1 on him in God knows how long. It's going to be Victor Hovland at $10,100.
Yep.
I made the bet, but he is not playing as well as he normally is. But that value number, to me, it screams value for a guy who's played this course very, very well. And is just a couple of tweaks in his game to becoming one of the best players in the world, like we saw towards the end of last year. I think when it comes to DFS in this range, when we go Hovland all the way to Scheffler, I'm playing Scottie, probably going to be 50%. I'm also going to be playing the lowest owned golfer in this 10K range because you just find some wild, crazy shit that happens in these events, and catching a guy who's an elite golfer who is single-digit owned is going to be a score on this. And I don't know if anyone in the 10K range will be single-digit owned, but it's probably going to be somebody close to it. I think it's Cantlay who's going to be the single-digit owned guy. But I don't know if I have enough to go with Cantlay. I think Hovland might be the second lowest owned, and I might go with him. What are you doing in this 10K range? And I know you're going to start with Scheffler. Are you playing Scheffler?
Of course, yeah. I play Scottie every week. I didn't play enough of him last week, but I will certainly be playing Scottie, especially because, again, we have the 5K dynamic pricing, and I think there are guys in the 5 and 6K range that you can feel pretty comfortable with. And sort of we'll talk about them later, but guys that have been making cuts and showing top 10 upside, guys that have won here that are showing some recent form. So I think a lot of options there. I also bet Victor Hovland. I was kind of torn, so I did most of my betting over the weekend, and FanDuel had some early lines up, but I wanted to add one more, and I was looking at either Victor or Colin Morikawa, and I saw 28 on Hovland this morning, and That's just too big of a number.
That's too big, right? Like I saw 25. And
he's played well here the last 2 years. He showed enough both at Riv and at Bay Hill. Obviously, like the finishes weren't great, but he showed enough that the ball striking is coming back a little bit. And I do expect the short game
has been a real struggle.
I expect it to come back a little bit. Again,
you would think so, but why the fuck did he fire?
It's not quite as important here. Like, I think he can ball strike his way around this golf course where he's not going to need it. So,
and especially if it's not going to be as windy, we're not going to see 25, 30 mile per hour wind.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of greens hit, especially from elite ball strikers.
No, for sure. And so the only thing that I will push back on here is I think the lowest owned player, now this guy always gets ownership in DFS because he's consistent. But in 11,300 Xander Schauffele, when people are going to be playing Scottie Scheffler and playing Justin Thomas, I don't think he's going to get to 10%.
If Xander's the lowest, I'm definitely playing.
And there's
definitely playing.
Plus, there's a narrative that he doesn't play so well in Florida, right? Like that's out there. And like, yeah, Cantlay hasn't been great, but I mean, Cantlay's $1,000 cheaper than Xander, and I think that is going to make a difference. So yeah, I actually think Xander and Cantlay are probably the two lowest. I think Rory would be fourth lowest. I think Scottie is 1, JT is 2, Hovland is 3, and then Rory is 4 in terms of ownership up there.
Yeah, Rory makes it tempting. I went all in on Rory last week and it fucked me. And so, of course, I'm going to have this recency bias where, do I want to go through this again? But if I'm already playing 50% Scottie, I do not think I could play Rory.
And look, you could jam 2 of them, but I think, and again, we'll talk about this down the road, but the obvious value plays that we've been playing at like 7K, 7,100, are now 8K this week. Corey Connors, Benny On, Brian Harmon, Tom Hoagie, like those guys are all more expensive, which makes it very difficult for you to play in more than one stud, and that stud is going to be Scottie Scheffler.
There are trends that go against Scottie doing it again. I mean, no one's won back-to-back players.
Dude, Scottie won like 5 times in a row last year when he got hot.
I know, but I'm just saying he's never won back-to-back. There was another stat where the 16 of the last 18 winners have been AM PM, and Scottie's PM AM. So there are a couple of trends. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate there. It's not going to stop me from playing his ass. But there are things out there where you can look at it and be like, I'll fade him. It could be the right play. I mean, the guy's going to be 35% owned in GPPs, and any golfer that high owned, you have to double take and think about fading, right? But when it comes to Scottie, I can't do it, especially not on this course, especially not after what happened last week, and especially when you're not betting him. I'm going to need some taste of him somewhere, right? That's why I got him in the underdog 2-bagger, and I'm going to play the fuck out of him in DFS. So hopefully that works out. Let's move on to this 9K range. 2 of my cash game cornerstones are going to be in here. I bet both these guys as well. Willie's out, of course, at $9,900. The game looks like it's there. Probably should have been more closer to Scottie last week than he was. Iron game's fine. Ball striking's fine. Putting looks better. Give me a little Willie Z. You start your cash lineups with guys under 10K. You have a lot of flexibility. I know a lot of people are going to start with Scottie, and that's fine. And even if a lot of people do, I'm not too worried about it because they're going to have to dig deep into the dredges to get it. They're not going to be able to get 2 guys probably above 9K in their thing. And I'm going to have 2 guys above 9K. My second is going to be Hideki Matsuyama. Again, guy who wins in bunches, playing really, really good golf. Iron game strong. He's doing the thing where he's hitting the ball and being angry that it's like 8 feet away. You know what I'm saying? Like when you see like more of that from Hideki, like that means he's missing his spot by like a foot or 2 and he's getting pissed, right? And that's how dialed the fuck he is when it comes down to it. So pretty easy. Those 2 choices for me for my cash game cornerstones. Other than that, I mean, I'm going to look at Homa, I'm going to look at Clark, and I'm going to look at Lowry, but I'm not sure who I'm playing out of those 3. Well, who are you going with in the 9K range?
Yeah, tough range. I would say my 2 favorites, just, you throw out the price, would probably be the top 2, right? Zalatoris and Matsuyama. I think riding the recent form, the recent iron play, both are probably the two best course fits in this range. I just, again, at the price, I will only be able to get to one of them. If I had to pick one, it would probably be Zalatoris, but it's very close. I like a lot of these guys in terms of course fit. I think you have to go to Colin Morikawa. I'm willing to overlook the.
All right, strange he hasn't played better here.
Yes, but
he's perfect form.
He's not going to end his career without winning here. I'll say that, right? And I think you're getting him at a pretty good price and probably a pretty low ownership here. I'm not going out of my way to play Clark or Spieth or Moment here. Aberg could be sneaky. He was, again, pretty disappointing last week, but I think he'll be better at the shorter irons. He's done well on some shorter courses. Played John Deere well, obviously won RSM. So
yeah, it's weird that he plays a lot of that bomber narrative, playing on good on short courses, a la Woodland, some other guys. He's sort of fitting that mold nowadays.
Yeah, I think the one that I'm struggling most with is Burns, and I kind of said it last week because he's just playing so well right now. I'm not a huge Burns guy in general, especially when he's popular, but he's just playing really well. Obviously, putts well. Anybody who looks at comp courses is going to see Valspar, and that's probably going to skew the data a little bit here, but I still think Burns is cheap enough. He also has a very early morning tee time, which I know we like here. So I guess for me, Burns, Morikawa, Zalatoris would be my top three.
So let's move on to the 8K range. My third cash game cornerstone is going to be Corey Connors. I think he's $8,300. Of course, you want to come in here with a solid ball striking, solid iron game. And, his iron game's always been good, but in the last 3 weeks, he's gained almost 14 strokes on approaches in his last 3 events. So he's pretty fucking dialed when it comes to his irons. And he's fairly accurate off the tee. You don't really see him making like too many big time mistakes. I mean, you see a good amount of bogeys and stuff from him, but you're not seeing like too many doubles and triples and stuff like that from him. He doesn't really, unless something crazy happens on the green and he like 3 putts or 4 putts, which can't happen with Corey Connors. But I like the way his iron game looks. I really like the way it's looking in the eye test. So he's going to be my third cash game cornerstone. I really like Tony Finau here at $8,500. I don't know how popular he'll get. It seems like he's sort of been lost in the loop here this whole season, right? But he hasn't been horrible, right? He's had some decent finishes out there. And ball striking, he's going to be fine. Tee to green, he's going to be good. I think I like Tony at maybe discounted ownership a little bit, just because you look around him. Thigala's going to be popular. Henley's going to be popular. Sungjae's going to be popular. You got Koreatown all down in the bottom of the 8K range, which I'm probably playing a lot of those guys down here. Another guy I do like a lot, Siwoo. Like last week, he was basically the Korean Scottie Scheffler, right? I mean, like his ball striking was fucking immaculate. And then I think he gained like 9 strokes tee to green, but he lost like 8.6 strokes putting. Yeah. Like literally 8.6 strokes putting. It was like the worst. It was horrible. But the ball striking was there. And he's won this event before. So he has to have some type of good confidence coming into here. And I like Sungjae. I like this 8K range a lot. I like the 8K range probably more than a lot of the 9K guys. I like Sungjae. He showed a little bit last week. It feels like the game is coming back a little bit. Coming to a course where course fit, this should be perfect for him. If you go to whoever's site and look at the course suitability model, he's going to be up top. And so I think I'll take a peek at Sungjae. Who do you like here?
Yeah, pretty similar. I was a little annoyed because my favorite 3 in this range all have late afternoon tee time. It's on Thursday, but it is what it is. Yeah, you mentioned Corey Connors. I think you have to keep playing him. You don't have to bet him because he's not going to win. The upside is a little bit limited. The putter has not been very good recently. But again, probably a very safe guy for a top 20, top 25 here for cash. I like Benny On a little more than Siwoo. I could obviously see the argument for both. I caught a 100-1 on him yesterday, and I think Benny is close to winning. And yes, it would be a big leap to win in a field like this.
Somebody asked on Twitter if he could win this week, and he said maybe.
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, was that you? Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
That was you.
I was
Okay.
fucking around today. But yeah, he won the European Players, right? At a course very similar to this. Has played well at the Wyndham. I think he has a second and a third there.
Everyone knows Wyndham's a course comp.
Yeah, Mason Cuffs here. Obviously lives in Florida now. He's a much better putter now than he was. He drives it a lot further than he was. So I like him, and I think he'll be lower owned than CU a little bit.
You think?
And I do. Mostly so Data Golf just put their stuff out, and they have Siwoo as like their number 3 overall value this week. So really a lot. And then so you mentioned Finau. So I bet him at 60 to 1 this morning. I really had no plans to do that, but I
60?
Yeah. With play.
Hard to pass that up.
I know. So I ran a model last night. He was second in the model. And I know it was okay because Scottie Scheffler was first, but he was second. And he doesn't really fit the course that well, but I think there's a path here for him. So I bet him this morning. And then I think the fourth guy is Henley. So Henley also got the morning tee time. He's going to be popular, but I feel like I need to find a way to get some Russell Henley exposure this week.
He's going to play pretty good golf. He played pretty well last week. The guys again,
perfect golf.
Iron play is pretty fucking important here.
Yeah,
right. I mean, you want the ball striking guys. You want the good iron players, and he's definitely one of them. And then we're going to go to the 7K range and go to another guy who's on final cash game cornerstone, whose iron game has been basically studly for the last I don't know for a little while.
Yeah,
I'm going to go with Hollywood Hoagie at $7,800 as my final cash game cornerstone. I mean, if you look at his iron play, right? Last 3 events, 8.2 strokes gained approach at the Arnold Palmer, 4.6 strokes gained approach at the Cognizant, 6.8 strokes gained approach at the Genesis. And then the other 2, Waste Management was 3.7. No, not great, right, for him. ATT Pebble Beach, 3.7. I mean, the guy's iron game is solid. It's what you're looking for. He came top 5 last year. He's been playing good golf. It's a pretty easy cash play for me. So my 4 cash game cornerstones for this week, they are going to be Will Zalatoris at 9,900, if I'm right? Will's 99?
Yep. 99.
Willsey at 99, Hideki at 98, Corey Connors at 83, and Hoagie at 78. Still leaves like 14 plus, 14-4 or something like that left to fill out the rest of your lineups. And of course, it goes all the way down to $5,000 now. And then, of course, you guys know who my 5th guy is because I do like Eric Cole. This week, the bounce back, this seems like a great course for him. So I do like Eric Cole a lot. Top 10 in my model. I don't understand why Harris English plays so bad here. Like, I don't understand. Like, I want to play him. Yeah. And I know course history is like not that big of a deal here. But when you miss like 87 cuts in a row at the same course, you start to worry. So I'm probably not going to play him, even though I want to, just because of how horrible he is at this event. Adam Hadwin, another guy in this upper 7K range that I'm going to play. He's had some really strong finishes here recently, well above average in a lot of the stats that I'm looking for. Who are you looking for in this upper 7K?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options. So again, I caught a very early number on Brian Harmon, so that doesn't reflect this price tag. It was like 150 to 1 yesterday, but I think he'll be very popular. And he makes a lot of sense. Plays this course well, plays concourse as well. I think he's probably the best overall option in the range. I can't argue with Tom Hoagie. It's just the price is a little bit crazy. I would say like in this range, I'm going to be targeting recent iron play more than anything. So if you look at that, the top, 1 is Hoagie, obviously. Number 2 is Keith Mitchell, who I'm also very, very high on. And you probably will never guess this. In the 7K range over the last, 12, 15 rounds, who's the 3rd best in strokes gained approach? In the whole 7K range?
I have no idea.
Cameron Davis.
Oh, I do like him a lot.
So Cameron Davis, he basically led in approach. Well, I think he did lead an approach at Pebble. Obviously, was a shortened event. He led in approach on Sunday at Bay Hill, and he had another really good week. Maybe it was the MX or something where he spiked in approach. Really, really like him this week. He's also done a lot of his damage on shorter golf courses. He finished 6th here last year. Now, that was on back of a really hot putter, but if he did it once, why can't he do it again, right? And I think he's going to be fairly low owned. So for me, it's Harman, Mitchell, and Cam Davis are probably going to be the 3 guys that I play the most.
Sounds good. In the bottom range here, yeah, I like Cameron Davis a lot. I'm definitely going to play him. He's my favorite play. In the bottom range, I like Jake Knapp. I'm just going to keep playing him. Like I said, what he did on Sunday really stuck out to me. Like, everyone's going to see his plus 12 score, right? And they're not going to pay attention to what he did on Sunday. To go in and play your worst round as a pro, as a PGA Tour pro on Saturday, embarrass yourself on hole 6, right? Shoot a 12 on that hole. And then to come back Sunday and shoot one of the best scores of the day, right? And you're top 20% of the day. And it shows a lot to me personally, right? And so I like him. I think he's going to be a stud. I'm going to play him at $7,200. We'll see if he really pans out to where, I would like him to be, because I think the guy has star potential. But at $7,200, I'm going to take that risk after seeing what he does for the last 3 or 4 weeks, just how silky smooth his swing is and everything like that. I'm going to have to play him down here in the 7K range.
My only concern with Nat, which you saw a little bit last week, but you also saw on Sunday in Mexico when he won, is his miss off the tee was that snap hook to the left. And I feel like the snap hook to the left is a big problem here. So
yeah, all the waters, lots of water on
stay away from that. Yeah.
That's true. Hopefully he clubs down, because a lot of that was with the driver.
Sure. He's not going to hit many drivers here.
Yeah. So hopefully he clubs down and that miss isn't as extreme. Let's go down to the 6K range. Like you said, there's a lot of dudes here that I like. Nick Taylor, again, really strong finish last week. I think he's had some top finishes here at this event. I got him at 110 to 1. I know people were getting him at like 150 to 1 or better. I got him at 110 to 1 for Nick Taylor. I mean, Matthew Pavon, I do not play this guy no matter what the fuck the course is. Yeah. If he's going to be $6,700, I mean, the upside is obviously sky high for this guy, right? I mean, like, the guy has done well on easy courses. The guy has done well on hard courses. Like, it's time to really pay attention to this Frenchman, because the guy's playing really good golf. And at $6,700, fuck. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play Devon. Another guy, Eckroat, $6,500. A week after his win, he goes out there and shows off again with another top 25 in a much, much stronger field. When it comes down to like his stats and stuff, really crushes the par 3s, barely 3 putts. Really good from 150 to 175, above average around the green. This guy seems like he's going to be another guy in that mold who could be, take that next step to becoming a star. The guy's got mad game. And at $6,500, I'm going to go ahead and take that risk. Novak's going to be the popular guy. 3 state top 10s down there. It's hard to ignore that at $6,400. Putnam coming off, a really solid finish last week at $6,300. Who do you like in this range?
So my favorite was Aaron Rai. I think when you look at course fit, he's very, very consistent. Obviously, the type of player you want to hear. He hits a ton of fairways, really good wedge player, not going to make a lot of mistakes. So if the scoring gets tough and he gets in the right side of the wave, which for now he's got a very early Thursday time. I think $6,400 for him is very good. He's also the same price as Andrew Novak, who I assume is going to be very popular off of those, 3 top 10s in a row now?
Yeah.
And again, maybe popular off of Austin Eckroat as well, who just won. I'm going more for that long-term form. So Aaron Rai makes a lot of sense. Straka at $6,500. I think, again, because he's a big dude, people think about him as a bomber, but really he's not. He's a really good iron player. Hits a lot of fairways, can putt really well. Is going to like Bermuda a lot better than he liked the POA. Even though we're overseeded here, I think he'll be perfectly fine. I do like Nick Taylor, who you mentioned. I do like Doug Gim, but I feel like the ownership is going to get a little bit out of control.
I can't play CB Doug anymore, man. Every time I roster him, he's fucking sucks.
It makes a lot of sense here, but
he does. He was one of my Cascade Cornerstones last year.
Yeah, I think
he's on back.
I think for me it's going to be ownership. So Ryan number 1, Straka number 2, and then a guy that I fucking hate, but at this price, at this golf course, off of a really good finish. Billy Horschel at 6,600. His ball striking and putting was great at Honda. I think he finished 9th or 8th. He hasn't played this course well, but obviously plays it a lot. He lives here in Ponte Vedra. I could see him again in the top 10 or near, and he's going to be, 4 or 5% on this week.
Yeah. 5K range, there's even some guys. I mean, the first guy that sticks out of mind is Ryder. What is he? What's Sam Ryder? I always love Sam Ryder.
56, I think.
I think it's like a 50-something. I got him at like 400 to 1.
Yeah.
With 8 places.
No,
so I went ahead and took that
there for sure.
Yeah. I went ahead and took that bet. One of the best iron players in the world.
Yep.
Right? I mean, at least in the last 50 rounds. The guy has solid iron play, and of course, that's something you look at. Justin Lower.
Yeah.
Had a pretty good finish, just a few weeks ago. Again, his iron play is his strength. A couple of guys in the 5K range that I do not mind playing at all.
There's a lot down here. So, yeah, if you're strictly looking at sort of form iron play, I think Justin Lower makes a lot of sense. Carson Young, I assume, is going to be popular. We've been playing him and betting him a lot this year. He's way down at 5,500. I played Webb Simpson last weekend in Showdown. The iron play wasn't great. I think it'll be better at this golf course. One thing that stood out to me, he gained off the tee in all 4 rounds at Bay Hill.
Wait, who is this?
Webb. He's at 5,900. Obviously won here. If you look at comp courses, now again, Webb was a much better player, but he's won Heritage. He's won Wyndham. He's won somewhere else too. Travelers, I think he was close at. He's won here, obviously. But he, gained all 4 rounds off the tee at Bay Hill, which tells me he was hitting a lot of fairways because, he's not hitting the ball long. So Webb makes a lot of sense. But I would say Webb, Carson Young. And then, Steve Stricker has been dominating the Champions Tour for 5 years. He's down at 5,200. He can make a cut here. Upside, not so much, but elite wedge player, hits fairways, and has been playing a lot of golf and a lot of good golf recently. So if you're, very, very desperate for a 5,200 punt, I do not mind Steve Stricker.
Sounds good. All right, so I got some bets for this week, and I have already made them. So I'm going Hovland, 24 to 1, Zalatoris, 27 to 1, Hideki, 32 to 1. Nick, and then the rest of these are all with 8 places. I think I got 5 bombs. Nick Taylor, 110 to 1, 8 places. Austin Eckroat, 150 to 1, 8 places. Novak, 150 to 1, 8 places. Justin Suh, 250 to 1, 8 places. That putter can get hot. And Sam Ryder, 400 to 1 with 8 places.
Yeah, those are some fun ones. We've seen long shots pretty much contend every year. There were a bunch up here last year as well, so you can certainly see it. Mine was a little more balanced. So Justin Thomas, 25, Victor Hovland, 28. I got the Matsuyama 45 yesterday, Tony Finau at 60, Benny On at 100, and in that Brian Harman 150. I would bet him down, if there are still 80s or, it's the 80 out there is okay. Anything under that, I would probably stay away.
One and done for me, probably going to be Scheffler.
Interesting. Yeah, big prize pool. If you haven't used Scheffler, I can't think of a better time other than he's going to be popular and it's hard to go back to back here. I expect him and JT probably to be the 2 most popular. So if you are looking for something more contrarian, I would take a look at probably Hovland, maybe Colin Morikawa. But if you have Scottie, this is a very good spot to use it.
All right, Ryan, I think that's going to be it. Tell everyone where they can find you, brother.
Yep, on Twitter, rbarra427. Here with you guys as much as I can be. DMs are always open, and let's have a good weekend.
Oh, yeah, one thing I did forget, the winner of the YouTube comment from last week. It's going to be at Mr. R. Klein 16. So we're going to go ahead and send you an invite to go against Tambo, myself, and Ryan in a 4-man. Also, D-Krupp from last week, he wasn't able to get in, so we're going to put him in this week's. So it'll be a 5-man this week to get into the Tournament of Champions at the end of the year. Still haven't worked out what we're doing with the listening league yet. Hopefully something happens here soon with Underdog Fantasy. make sure you go to Underdog Fantasy, use promo code Mayo, get a 100% match, the deposit match up to $100. You can find me on X at KendoVT. You can find my article every week on gupscorner.com. Use promo code Kenny. Save yourself 30% on the membership to Gups Corner. All right, so it's going to be a great field. Hopefully the weather stays good. It should be a fun watch. Let's win some motherfucking money. DJ Nation.
I've been getting dirty money, Jordan Belfort. Stacking penny stocks while I'm flipping these birds. Sipping on Ciroc, trip 'em up with the words.